Okay, here's a quick video about evaluating your research question to see if it's any good. Once you develop your research question, and you may be doing this several times before you really get it right, you need to see a few things. A, is your question clear? Would a reader understand the nature of your research by asking or by reading your research question, rather? Is it focused? Is it too vague? Would it require writing an entire book? Or is it too specific and it only would require a 3-page paper? You don't want to be stuck too far, too specific, too vague, somewhere nice in the sweet spot of the middle of that. Is the question arguable? Could there be multiple answers to that question? And are you going to be able to argue something specific that's backed up by evidence from your research? You want to also consider what are some possible outcomes for your research. And that, will depend on if you're doing a biology paper or you're doing a history paper, or you're doing a English paper. Those things are going to be different. But if we think about what some of the answers to your questions might be, will they sort of fit this quality of paper, this length of paper, and will you have enough information to create a sustained argument, or is it just too limited? So again, both of those things go in conjunction with each other, but you want to consider those tasks. This is, by the way, on page 80 and 81 of the guide, the extended essay guide. Here are some sample research questions. On the left side of this chart, they have unclear, unfocused, and unarguable research questions. For example, what is the history of Chinese theater? To me, that sounds like a report, right? It sounds like something you might do in 5th grade or 7th grade or 8th grade, right? Where you're just like writing everything you can about Chinese theater. In 1575, this happened in Chinese theater. You don't want that kind of a report. We want an arguable, complex, specific question that's really going to require you to do more than just look at Wikipedia, where you're going to need to look at some more sophisticated academic research in order to answer that question. So instead of what is the history of Chinese theater, they put, how does the legacy of Mei Lanfang contribute to modern Jingju? And I may be pronouncing that wrong, and I apologize, but that is the question. And so you have very specific actor, I think, here. And Jingju, I'm not sure what that is, but that may be a type of theater. So you're looking at a very specific type of theater. You're looking at a very specific actor, perhaps. And you're saying, like, how does one affect the other? That's a really good question. They have an important note here. A question that is unclear or too broad will result in a narrative overview of the issue or event being discussed and provide little scope for analysis and reasoned argument. The result is that the examiners will not be able to apply the range of marks available in the assessment criteria, particularly in relation to criterion C, critical thinking. So if your question is too broad, you're going to lose out on that whole 25% of the essay grading rubric, and they're not going to be able to give you critical thinking scores. So be really careful about how you develop your question.